Hello, you're listening to the Single Father Podcast with Kendall Donaker. I am your host, Kendall Donaker. I have taken a little bit of a break recently. I apologize if any of you were interested in getting that daily update or weekly update, which will resume very soon. The podcast will be resuming weekly very, very soon. I just had a few things come up that just made me a little busy. Speaking of busy, it has been quite the experience lately with really everything. But today I wanted to talk about how I feel like I disappointed myself, or how I feel like I've almost disappointed or let down my daughter in regard to my co-parenting situation. Because it's not great. I'll tell you that I'll tell you that right now. It's not great. Which is strange for me, just because I've been a big advocate on making sure that I don't know how to explain it. I've been a big advocate on making sure that I tell the world about how I've been successful at co-parenting and giving tips and things like that. Unfortunately, that really hasn't been the case as of lately, and it's actually taken a turn for the worst. I thought I had it under control, but I should clarify, it hasn't really taken a turn for the worst. I'll just say it's not in a really great position. I think where I left off, it was kind of teetering on that edge of getting to a bad place with my child's mother, but now it's gotten to a place where we're really just not communicating, which I feel like is bad in regard for, and completely just the opposite of everything I've ever wanted, being a parent. And it's really difficult for me because there are things that has happened within our relationship that I, to be quite honest, don't really understand. It's very challenging being a co-parent lately, mostly just because I've lost my ability to kind of understand what it means to be a co-parent, because I see a completely different side out there than what I have. I feel like I have been really trying to be, open and receptive to a lot of things. And, here's what I will say. Her and I are on completely different sides. The disappointing thing is that as of late, it doesn't feel like our child is our child. As of late, and pretty much how it is she, meaning my daughter, she is her mom's child on her weeks and my child on my weeks. There's no hour about it, you know? We don't work as a team, we don't really communicate, we don't have any of those things that I wish we did. And it's hard to explain really why without sounding disrespectful, because look, if there's one thing I'm 100,000% sure of, is that her mother is a great, great mother. I think she's a great mom. I think she has good intentions, and I don't doubt who she is as a mother. And I believe I'm a good father. And it's very upsetting that we can't work together, because I think that her mom has so much dislike for me that it has, I think, even without her realizing it, it's kind of spilled over into how we parent. And I mean that respectfully. I do. Kind of her view is, you know, I don't, I hate you, and I feel like we should only communicate on, and I don't want to put words in her mouth. That's just that I'm telling you, this is just how I feel. I feel like her view is like, hey, I hate you, and we should only communicate if it's an emergency. My view is, hey, I get we don't like each other, right? But I still want to, communicate as much as we can. Well, not as much as we can. What I mean is, I want to communicate about our daughter. If I want to be simpatico, I want to be co-parents. I want to have things be as normal for our daughter as possible, and quite frankly, is as normal for me as possible as well. She has a baby on the way and a new partner, but quite frankly, I'm still a single parent, and it is tough. It's tough when you don't have the added support there, especially from my other parent, who I don't feel. I'm trying to word it correctly. Being that I feel like she doesn't have my best interest at heart, obviously, but I feel like it has made it so where the best interest of our daughter almost gets put in second place, because my goal is to just make sure everything is running smoothly, and making sure that Layla has transparency, which is just completely just non-existent in our relationship as of right now. And one thing I will say, and I don't mean it as a jab in any way, but recently she sent me a message about, like, I told her, hey, Layla's been peeing her pants lately, and she says, well, maybe it's because we have different parenting styles and she's changing schools and all that. And I said, hey, if you want, I can definitely tell you about my parenting style and we can work together. And she replies back and says, I'd rather keep our parenting styles separate. And I'm like, okay, see, there it is. I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And again, I don't mean that as a jab. I'm just saying, hey, from my point of view, that's the wrong point of view to have, right? And look, I get it. I have no doubt in my mind that if I told you every single detail, I mean every single raw detail of everything I've experienced, you'd say, "Wow, I really agree with you and I see where you're coming from and you're completely right." However, I also have no doubt that if you would listen to her side, the way she would frame it or the way she would say it, I'm sure would make complete sense to you as well. And I'm not saying that she's wrong or whatever. What I am saying, though, is we have such different perspectives on everything. It makes it really difficult to agree on anything. I mean, seriously, we have such different perspectives on everything. It makes it hard to agree on anything. And listen, I've said on this podcast before that being a co-parent is also kind of surreal, because let's say you again, you no longer want to spend the rest of your life with someone but have to communicate with them all the time. Yeah, that is a little bit of surreal and kind of unworldly, and it kind of messes with your head a little bit. So I understand the desire to kind of have that be exiled from our relationship, just the amount of communication that we have. I completely get that. But I think things could be a little bit more normal. I mean, as normal as I think you can be. So, yeah, I've been having a challenging time as of late. Another thing that I'll just mention here, because I'm just venting, is you know, sh I dropped Layla off and at her mom's, and, everything went fine, and then I get a message on my phone, and it's from her, and she's saying, "Please don't bring please don't drop Layla off with non-vegan food and perfume anymore." And it irritated me because it wasn't perfume, it was hairspray, and what I sent her there with was almost beyond. It was almost confusing why she even said it, because she went there with these seaweed, these seaweed snacks that you put on sushi. She had those in one hand and a vegan, like, carrot bar or whatever on the other hand. So I'm thinking to myself, you don't even know what you're talking about. And the fact that you would say that, it kind of just shows me, I felt like there was a better way to say it. You know what I mean? And you may be like, "Well, Kendall, all she did was say, 'Hey, can you not bring perfume and non-vegan stuff in my house?'" Yeah, I get that, but it's the fact that I feel like she didn't even know what she was talking about. They were vegan, clear obviously, and it wasn't perfume, it was hairspray. So, but the reason I tell you is because along with that, I probably had the most, like, profound I don't know want to say profound moment of my life, but I had the most, like, kind of epiphany in my life that kind of made everything feel a lot better for me, is she sent that to me while I was with my friends, and I was out at lunch, and I'm telling them about it, and I'm in the middle of replying, and I'm visibly irritated, and my friend says, "Well, hold on a second. What would happen if you reply to her?" And I said, "What do you mean?" I mean, she said, and he said, like, "What would she say?" And I'm like, to be honest, and again, I'm just me venting, no disrespect. I'm just saying, to be honest, she'd probably reply back with some bullshit, and I'd reply back, and round we'd go until, one of us just gets irritated and doesn't respond. And he said, "Oh, okay." And you said, "What would happen if you didn't respond?" And I said, "Probably nothing." And he says, "Okay, well, which one sounds better to you?" I said, "Not responding sounds a lot better." And he said, "Okay. Well," he said, "you're a grown man, but you could respond to her and be irritated for the rest of the day, or you could just not respond and simply just let it go and enjoy the rest of your day." And for the first time in 3.5 years, I let it go. And I want to hit that home just for a second because it was almost like I had an epiphany that I didn't have to defend myself all the time. I didn't have to. I mean, look, guys, I've said this before. I kind of have a little bit of a PTSD from going to court with her and my parents going to court and kind of everything that happened with that. It was just uncomfortable and a horrible experience for me. It really was. And so over the past 3 years, I've always felt like I've had to defend myself and answer to her and kind of bow down to her a little bit. And again, I mean, no disrespect whatsoever. And I'll keep saying it. And, because I don't want anyone to get mad at me. I'm just saying, because it's not a dig. I'm just saying how I feel. But for the past 3 years, I've always just felt like I had to be so defensive and kind of just answer for every action I take, everything that she doesn't like. I say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. And just kind of defending myself, and for the first time in 3 years, I just let it go. It's like I don't have to defend myself anymore. I don't have to prove that I'm a good father. I am a good father. I don't have to defend myself to someone who doesn't have any more authority than I do over our daughter." If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has the tools to allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And it felt really good knowing that I could just let it go, you know? And it's been more freeing for me because I don't know. I've always had this idea in my head of just how co-parents should be. So I've always, in these past 3 years, if I had my daughter for my week, I would, send her some type of message, maybe to give her an update or something. I always felt obligated to message her or have Layla FaceTime her or something like that while she was over my house because I felt it was like the respectful the kind thing to do, which hey, you could argue whether it is or isn't, but I don't feel obligated to do that anymore. I don't feel obligated to always serve her. And I hope people are smart enough to read into that, because what I really mean is I'm focused on me and my daughter. I'm not focused on anything other than any noise other than that. I'm focused on just being a good parent. I'm focused on my future. I'm focused on, buying a house. I'm focused on myself as a father and me as a person and my relationship with my daughter. That's what I'm focused on. And I would love if things were different between me and her mother. I mean, look, like I said, it is the way things are right now. It's very disappointing. Um, but we're it's it's to the point where, I mean, listen, I have acknowledged and taken ownership for some of the things that I've said and I've done, but I have never ever been able to get her to acknowledge or see my side in any way. And that's disappointing because like I said, we're just so different, you know? We have different views, different beliefs, different values, and completely different lives, it's almost like everything I say is completely she finds really ridiculous or stupid, and if I'm being honest, kind of vice versa. Like the thing with the vegan thing. I'm like, "You don't even know what the fuck you're talking about." You know what I mean? And look, I'm not trying to be rude in any way. I'm just saying. I'm sure she feels the same way about me anytime I say something. But it's come to the point where I feel like we will never be able to be on the same page. Now, what I mean by that is personally. When it comes to, hey, where should Layla go to school or this or that, I'm sure we can obviously come to an agreement, and we both love our daughter. That's clear, and that's that. But yeah, I don't see room for there to ever be a change in our relationship. It's very, very toxic, very bad, and I personally just feel like it's unfair for our daughter. And I'm not listen, I take like I want to say again, I take ownership. I acknowledge and I take accountability for some of the things that I've done and said that could contribute to it being at this point. But I have never once been able to get her to do the same. And maybe she feels like she's never done anything wrong. I can't speak for her. It's a disappointing place to be in, and it almost makes me, I don't actually subscribe to the idea of no regrets. Hashtag no regrets. I respect everyone that has that mantra and everyone who believes in that. But I actually do have some regrets in my life, or, in a lack of better words, some things that I wish weren't true, which is I think is i.e. regret. But I regret that my daughter has to grow up, ping ponging back and forth between parents, and I regret that we aren't better co-parents, because one day I think she'll pick up on that uncomfortableness, I never regret, like, I don't at all wish we were back together or anything like that, never, 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 but respectfully, but look, like I said, it's a tough job being a single parent, it's a tough job being a parent in general, and, if I could tell you exactly, w w I don't know. It's tough, no one goes into this thinking like, "Hey, I wanna be a co-parent," and, I wish a lot of things weren't true. I love my daughter very much, and somewhere deep down, I feel like I have love for her mother. I mean, look, if She's the mother of my child. If she ever really needed anything, and I mean really needed something, like if she asked me to go get bread at the store, I'm not sure I'd do it, but I'm kidding. But if she ever really needed something, I definitely would be there for her. It's just sometimes remarkable to me how different that we are from each other, and how vastly deep things have gone down this one path that we're on. It's very, and you could tell I'm trying to watch my words because look, I'm not a guy. I'm not the guy who's gonna come out and say disrespectful things. It's not me. I can only vent and speak my truth the best way I can. And that's just kind of what I'm trying to do, is just kind of throw it all out there and say like, this kind of sucks. I thought I had it together, but I do not. We talk on a co-parenting app, and that's completely fine. It holds us both accountable, and I wish things were better for my daughter's sake, you know? And don't get me wrong, there's as of right now, there's nothing like that my daughter is experiencing that affects her in any way. There's no bashing each other, as far as I know, to the with to her about the other parent. There's nothing like that. It's simply just I fear as she grows up, she might pick up on, mom and dad don't like each other. And I'm not gonna lie to you. I wish I knew more about my daughter's life when she's not at my house, when she's with her mother. And I didn't realize it's only 1 week on, 1 week off, but I wish I could FaceTime her again and things like that. And just since communication has gone to a bare minimum of nothing, it's really hard to, it's there's so much tension in the air right now. And I just wonder how long it will stay like that, and how long it will be like that. And and it affects me sometimes, and mentally, and relationship wise, because I have so much love for my daughter. And look, it's hard for me to, yeah, because I always feel like I'm compensating. If I give time to some other girl while I have my daughter, then my daughter will feel unloved, or I will feel like unloved by my daughter, because she'll, I have anxiety and things like that, so I tend to think really deep into things, and it does affect me, in some ways. And I it's good to do this podcast just so I can let it all out there. And I feel like it's okay to say that I don't have all the answers. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know how this will be fixed. And I don't have any advice on really how to be in a better position, because I feel like I'm in a pretty crappy one. And listen, in hindsight though, and or retrospective nature, I'm not in the worst co-parenting situation there is. Clearly there are way worse situations. I'm just saying, speaking for myself and mine, it's really tough sometimes to deal with someone who you virtually are on completely different sides of. You guys kind of get what I'm saying. But yeah, I mean, I'm very convinced that things will get better. How, why, when, where, I don't know. I don't have that answer. I really don't know. But I'm taking steps to improve myself, and hopefully that improves everything else around me. I've downloaded this affirmation app on my phone that, motivates me every day. And I've been really deep into astrology and learning more about, my personalities and things like that. And I didn't mean to say personalities, by the way. I don't want anyone thinking I have a multiple personality disorder. But you know what I mean. I've the Calm app. I do meditation every day, and I'm going to the gym every day. I suggest everyone out there to go to the doctor. By the way, I remember I was feeling really tired, and I went to the doctor, and they're like, "Well, you're not anemic, but we can do a couple blood tests to find out what is going on." And once all those tests came back, I found out a lot more about myself and my body that I think I would have never known. And you learn kind of supplements or pills or diets or exercise that you could do to improve your life and improve your mood and improve your spirit and your mindfulness and all that. And I feel like people are really scared to go to the doctor sometimes and scared to do tests but I feel like it's really important to learn about your body. I feel like it's really important to learn more about yourself. I recommend therapy. I recommend, taking the time to really know about yourself and heal yourself and find out what your body needs. We got to listen to our bodies as well. I was listening to my body today and I said, it's time to start back up the podcast again. I need to vent and I need to, get this out there. And, hopefully my vulnerableness helps someone out there who might be going through the same thing and feeling like they don't have all the answers. And I'm here to tell you, hey, you're not alone. I don't either. It feels pretty shitty sometimes being in a situation where you feel hopeless. But I mean, look, we can all get a little dramatic sometimes, right? When I say I feel hopeless, you can only control what you can control. It's kind of like the tattoo quote I have on my arm that I have to look down and remind myself of is God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Oh, that last part is the most important. The wisdom to know the difference. The wisdom to understand the things that you can change and the things that you can't change. And I think a part of that wisdom and that understanding is kind of rolling with the punches, going with the flow, accepting things as they are. And maybe this is how it's supposed to be. And what do you do in the face of adversity? Do you curl up in a ball and cry, or do you make it work? Do you persevere? Do you keep going? Do you find different ways around it? Do you let it go, as I mentioned earlier? Do you meditate? Do you go to church? Do you go on walks? What do you do in the face of adversity? I think that should be the homework for everyone today, is to kind of, even for myself, is to kind of, what do you do when you feel lost? What can you do? What are your options? And don't say there are no options. There definitely are. But maybe you have to search for them. Maybe you know them and you're scared to go towards them. Maybe you are going towards them right now, but you're just dragging your feet. But keep going, because things do get better. And you know what? After venting with you guys today, I feel better. And I want to clarify once again, my child's mother, my baby mama, when I really knew her, she was an amazing woman. And even though I don't really know her now, I still can tell you without a doubt that she is an amazing mother. Just because two people don't love each other anymore doesn't mean that all hope is lost for them getting along. And I'll continue to hold on to that hope. And as Drake said in his song, I hope the day that you hear this, Layla, me and your mother will have come around instead of tearing each other down. So, to everyone that's listening, to my pack of listeners venting with me today, thank you for letting me vent with you. Until next time, I'm Kendall Donaker, and keep it going. Keep moving forward. Bye-bye. This podcast is dedicated for anyone out there who's dealing with mental health and fatherhood. You'll hear about my struggles, my defeats, my victories, my highs, my lows, my triumphs, my tribulations, and everything in between. I like to call this a collection of journal entries into my struggle and adapting to single fatherhood. The Single Father Podcast.